The Doug Wright Show, where Utah news breaks on KSL News Radio, 102.7 FM and 1160 AM.
Great to have you along here at KSL News Radio. Troy Williams is joining us right now. He is the Executive Director of Equality Utah. And Troy, thank you so much for joining us in studio as we were chatting, walking back to the studio. What do you even say on a day like today?
I know, everything seems like an empty platitude.
Yeah.
And that's what's so painful. Our hearts have been ripped open. And as we read the stories, as we read the story of Eddie Justice, who was texting his mom in those last hours, he knew he was going to die, and so the last thing he could do was to text his mom to say, "I love you." And we have to remember that all of these people that died were a child and a brother and a sister of somebody.
Yeah.
You know, these are our family members that we've lost.
Oh, the texting that went back and forth between him and his mother. And as I read it, I mean, it just brings tears to your eyes. And, you know, and his mom for a long time did not know what happened. Things just went silent. And what does that mean? Was the phone taken away, or was her son dead? And sadly, it ended up being the latter. And, you know, this morning it was humbling, too. I watched the President of the United States, and I don't care whether you voted for President Obama or not. I don't care whether you are a Republican, Democrat, Independent, or anything in between. Here you have the most powerful man in the world, and you could just sense his sense of lack of power to do something about this. And we were talking about this prior to me going on the air this morning, Troy, and if I'm doing the count right, and it might be one here, one there, sadly, now we can't even keep track. But I think this president has had to go before the American people, before parents, before groups and organizations, and offer condolences and hopefully comfort and try to come up with some solutions 20 times in his presidency.
Yeah.
And you look at the atrocities that have been committed, often in the name of God, and it is just startling.
People are killing innocent people, and it's escalating. And as I was anticipating all the media that I'm doing today, the question that I have been fearing over and over again is, what do we do about this?
Yeah.
Because the answer that I have is, I don't know.
No, I know. And you know, it's interesting to watch all of the politicos just kind of retreat into
Jumping
their
right
corners.
in.
You know,
bet.
all of a sudden we hear Donald Trump, "See, I was right," self-congratulatory, patting himself on the back.
Obscene.
And not only was I right, but it's going to be worse. Yeah. And you go, oh, this is motivating. And then on the other hand, you see Hillary Clinton and others, you know, right on the gun control issue. That was at least somewhat, you know, predictable. And oh my goodness,
I can't even process any of that today. Our community is just in mourning. You know, we're just trying to make sense of this, and we're going to come together. And one thing that, if there is any silver lining, we have to recognize that the things that connect us together as humans, as Utahns, as Americans, are so much greater than the things that divide us.
Yeah.
And we've got to hold firm to that. I mean, I know a lot of folks here in the state had a very difficult time with the marriage equality ruling last year, and I know that was very divisive. But Equality Utah last year was able to work closely with the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints to pass non-discrimination legislation. And as we started to work together, we realized that there were things that we were never going to agree on. But if we could find the common ground, if we could find the things that the values that we shared, we could move forward. And what we did in Utah was historic last year, and we need to build on that.
Yeah.
We need to say, hey, I mean, I grew up Mormon, and so I've heard this, you know, my whole life, these horrific stories about the Hans Mill massacre. And now we're seeing this massacre, the greatest mass shooting, the greatest hate crime in American history targeted against the LGBT community. again, we all know what it's like to be victims of violence and hatred. And so the things that connect us together are stronger than the things that divide us. And I hope that we as a nation can come together to embrace those people who are different, despite our differences.
Boy, absolutely. Beautifully said. I've told this story a bunch of times here at KSL over the years. James Missionary, I think, died in 1997, if I remember correctly. Dee and I were traveling back east, and he had just passed away. And we were listening to a radio program. It was over a weekend. And the host of that radio program said, I had the opportunity to talk with Mr. Missionary not long before he passed away. Mm-hmm. And he liked to think of himself certainly as an American, but also as a citizen of the world. And this person said, one of the questions that I asked him is, Mr. Missionary, is there anything with this vast knowledge you've had, all the books you've written, all of the travels you've had, that still just troubles you? And he goes, yes, the fact that we are still killing ourselves in the name of our religions.
Right.
And I thought, isn't that amazing that we still do that? And we're assuming that somewhere at the core of this individual's perceived, twisted religious beliefs that has twisted one of the great religions of the world into such a pretzel-like, contorted, hateful thing that somebody can somehow pull this off in the name of their God.
And I'll tell you, I don't know what the answer is, but I know what the answer is not. And that is to target or to pit one group of Americans against another group of Americans, and to want to or to propose to ban Muslims from entering this nation. That is not the way forward. That is not the American way.
No, you're absolutely right. And that dividing America, I mean, there may be, for whatever twisted, sad reason or desperate reason, there might be some short-term political gain in things like that. But long-term, it is so costly to this country. It is corrosive to our soul. And heaven help, the real heaven help the individual that has to answer to their deity, whomever or whatever that may be, that they were the person for brief political or social or monetary gain, that they would corrode the soul of humanity to begin with, but the soul of this great nation. What happens this evening at 7 o'clock?
Yeah, we have 3 vigils across the state, and we would love you to be there. Even if you are not gay or lesbian or transgender, even if you don't even know anybody who is, please come out to these events. We have an event in Provo in Pioneer Park, in Ogden at the Weber State Bell Tower, and here in Salt Lake City at the City County Building, 7 p.m. vigil to remember those we lost. And we want all of our friends, allied, and family members to be with us tonight as we mourn, as we celebrate those things that connect us, as we love each other, as we embrace each other. Please come and be with us tonight.
Troy, I can't thank you enough on what I'm sure it's a difficult day for every decent human being on the face of the planet. But when a particular group, just like when Sandy Hook was targeted, and all of a sudden anybody who could relate to a little first grader or a kindergartner, whether it's, you know how much I love movies, and all of a sudden I thought, imagine sitting in a movie theater when some twisted, warped individual goes in there and starts shooting. Imagine somebody it doesn't matter, but especially since, so sadly, the latest targeted group, it really appears, is the LGBTQ community.
Well, we can't cower, and we can't go back in the closets. We can't be afraid to be public and to be together outside, because that's when they win. Yeah. And so we have to stand together, united in love.
Isn't that the irony? When terrorists really do strike terror in our hearts, they win.
Yeah.
They win.
Yeah, they're not going to.
Troy, I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much.
Give my best to everybody. And again, it's happening in Pioneer Park in Provo.
Yes.
At the Weber Bell Tower.
Yep.
Is that right?
Weber State.
And then also downtown Salt Lake City at the City and County Building.
That's right.
All right.